hottest day of the year so far. We'll have your forecast with meteorologist Fred Barnhill.
Plus, a Dallas Cowboy defensive back is shot during an attempted carjacking.
Also, 2 people are dead after a shootout outside a Dallas nightclub.
But first at 9, 4 members of a North Texas family were killed after their car collided with a deer on a West Texas highway. Good evening, I'm Dawn Tongish.
And I'm Jim Grimes. Thanks for joining us. A Garland woman and her son, along with 2 other family members, were involved in that accident. It happened in the west central Texas town of Mertzen. WB33's Jennifer Dodd is live in Garland now with the details on the story. Jennifer?
Well, Jim, we're here at Naaman Forest High School. This is where Aaron Hise was set to be a freshman next year. His mother, Tricia Etheridge, was a cheerleading director at Cooper Elementary School, also in Garland. We stopped by their home about an hour ago. I think we have some video for you to see. If we can pull that up, please.
He didn't live by the gun, but he died by the gun.
Obviously, we're having a few problems. We will come back to you in a few moments with this story. Back to you guys in the studio.
Well, a special teams player for the Dallas Cowboys was shot twice this morning during an attempted carjacking.
Police say Keith Davis was wounded in the head and the thigh during that drive-by. Police say Davis, who is a starting safety, was driving on Interstate 635 when a car pulled up next to him and opened fire. A passenger then drove Davis to the hospital. Police say the attackers may have been after the player's souped-up Chevy Impala. That's what police tell us. He is expected to recover fully from that shooting. He was shot 3 years ago while leaving a strip club in Dallas. But we're going to have more on that story a little bit later in sports.
All right, we're going to pitch right now over to our meteorologist Fred Barnhill. Fred, a hot day out there today. Boy.
I tell you what, Jim, it's been very hot across the region. At this hour, the heat advisory now has been extended for the Metroplex, including the counties of Tarrant, Dallas, Collin, and also Denton. But look farther off towards the east. You notice from Shreveport all the way up to Little Rock now, the heat advisory is in effect. A big hot dome of air dominating much of the country. At this hour, it's dry in the Metroplex. Will likely remain dry now over the next several days, but there are some big thunderstorms over parts of northeast Texas, but they're beginning to fall apart with the loss of daytime heating. A little bit of thunder in around the Paris area at this hour. But you can see again, fair skies here around the Metroplex. There's a weak trough of low pressure across southern Louisiana, and that's triggering a few scattered heavy storms. But we're right under that hot dome of air, and today was the hottest day of the year so far, officially at DFW 103. But look at much of the region topping out at or above 104. Denton 105 for a high, Bridgeport 104. It was very hot today. I wish I had some good news in the 5-day forecast, but maybe next weekend we'll begin to see a change. I'll have all the weather details coming up in a little bit later in this newscast.
All right, we'll see you in a bit. Well, Dallas police are looking into a double murder that happened in a downtown Dallas club.
The victims were shot outside of a busy nightclub. WB33's Joanne Castaneda has more on this investigation.
Gunfire ripped through the streets of downtown early this morning, striking 6 people and killing 2.
He didn't live by the gun, but he died by the gun.
22-year-old Lendell Carey, also known as Courtney, and his cousin, 20-year-old Kenneth Haggerty, were killed outside of Club Angel about 1:30 this morning.
We're keeping prayer, asking God to just keep us together.
The victims' families say the young men were not involved in gangs, but police have a different story and consider the homicides gang-related.
Earlier inside the club, there was a verbal altercation between 2 separate gang rivals. That confrontation then led outside to where the shooting erupted.
The shooting took place in the parking lot just as the club was closing, and dozens of people were exiting the building. Just last month, a similar shooting took place in downtown where 11 people were injured after an unknown gunman opened fire into a crowd. Police are not sure if the 2 incidents are related. Police say they're stepping up enforcement in the area.
From the last shooting that we have beefed up patrol in the downtown area. We've added Operation Disruption. We have our gang unit.
2 off-duty officers were working inside of Club Angel last night, but the victims' family members say it wasn't enough to keep their loved ones safe.
By Courtney passing last night, it just tearing us apart right now.
That was Joanne Castaneda reporting for us tonight. This shooting is just the latest in a series of violent attacks in downtown Dallas. In June, 11 people were wounded, one seriously, when someone started shooting outside the Thomas and Leggett Tavern. Police believe an argument over a woman sparked that exchange. Those suspects are still on the loose. In October, Joseph Davis was beaten to death by a mob. Police say as many as 20 people hit and kicked the young man, while as many as 100 people watched. The city of Dallas is now taking steps to try and curb the violence. Cameras are being placed throughout downtown and the West End, paid for by an $840,000 grant. Those cameras should be in place by the end of the year.
Well, the fighting in the Middle East has left thousands of U.S. citizens stranded, including a missionary group from Forney. The 10 missionaries are from the First Baptist Church of Forney. They were in Lebanon when the conflict started on Wednesday. The group's leader told the Dallas Morning News that they are working with a travel agent to get out of the country safely. Well, as the fighting in between Israel and Hezbollah, the militants there continues, the number of casualties continues to grow.
Earlier today, a rocket hit a train station in northern Israel, killing 8 people. That nation's defense minister is now vowing serious consequences for those involved in that attack. WB33's John Lawrence has the latest.
Gates of hell has been opened on Lebanon.
The Lebanese prime minister speaks frankly about the situation in his country as the Israeli military hammers suspected Hezbollah terror targets inside Lebanon. Hezbollah's leader issued another public address through his group's TV station, saying Israel's military campaign isn't destroying any of his organization's weapons, just killing innocent people.
What you killed were civilians, who were children, and the houses that you destroyed were civilian homes, empty of any of the weapons that you're talking about.
Earlier Sunday, the northern Israeli port city of Haifa was again hit by a Hezbollah rocket. 8 people at a train station were killed. Despite the grim situation, Israel's vice prime minister says his people are united.
They won't break our spirit. The people of Israel are today united and determined like never before.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Embassy says a military team is on the ground to help draw up an evacuation plan for Americans in Lebanon who wish to leave. A spokeswoman says evacuations will begin as soon as it is safe.
I know there's many people who are feeling quite panicked, but they should know that we're working 24/7 on this, and we'll get them out as soon as we possibly can.
I'm John Lawrence, WB33 News at 9.
Israeli warplanes struck the Palestinian Foreign Ministry for a second time in a week. The attack comes as Israeli tanks and troops push into a northern city in Gaza, targeting Hamas rocket positions. Officials say several Hamas gunmen were killed. A child and 2 journalists are among the injured.
A suicide bomber's attack on a cafe in Baghdad has left more than 25 people dead. According to witnesses, the blast collapsed the ceiling of that one-story cafe that was packed with Shiites. Rescuers spent hours sifting through the debris looking for survivors.
The space shuttle has been cleared to return to Earth. Mission Control has given the green light for Discovery's landing tomorrow in Florida. NASA says there is no sign of damage to the shuttle's protective skin, and they believe a leaking unit that powers the steering and the braking shouldn't pose a problem. The only hitch in the plan, though, could be the weather, because rain is expected. Across the nation, police are reporting an increase in thieves stealing copper.
Coming up next, Dallas police suspect a man may have been trying to steal the metal when he was electrocuted.
Plus, police in Houston say a drunk driver is responsible for killing 3 pedestrians in a hit and run.
And a bobcat attack on a dog in Arlington has residents there very concerned. That story coming up next. Stay with us.